You know, life has this way of surprising us. One day you're just walking your path, doing your best, and then suddenly someone appears. Someone who shifts the whole universe by just being there. And you realize you're the one I want. Not because you're perfect, not because everything is easy, but because something about your presence makes the world feel a little kinder, a little brighter, a little more real. And tonight I want to talk about that feeling, about choosing someone not out of fear or loneliness, but out of strength, out of love, out of the quiet belief that when our hearts speak, we should listen, even if it scares us, because sometimes the bravest thing we can say is simple, I choose you. And choosing with love, that's where everything begins. Sometimes life has this strange way of guiding us without ever drawing a map. It gives us moments, little sparks, subtle collisions that you don't recognize as meaningful until much later. And maybe that's the beauty of it. Maybe the universe doesn't need to speak loudly when the right person enters your path. Sometimes all it takes is a glance that lingers a second too long, or a smile that warms you in places you didn't even know were cold, and suddenly, something inside you shifts, as if a gentle truth has stepped forward and whispered to your heart, almost shyly, almost cautiously, but undeniably, you're the one I want. When I say that, I don't mean it in a possessive way or in the way that stories sometimes make love out to be fast, fiery, dramatic. I mean it in the quiet way, the real way, the way where wanting someone doesn't cage them, it frees something inside you instead. It opens doors you didn't know were locked. It teaches you to breathe differently. It teaches you to feel in ways you weren't sure you were allowed to feel anymore. Because wanting someone, truly wanting them, comes from gratitude, not need. It comes from seeing who they are when the world isn't watching, the way they laugh, the way their eyes soften when they talk about something that matters to them, the way they carry both their strength and their wounds, as if both have a place in the same body, the same story. And there's something beautiful about recognizing that, about seeing someone as they are, and still thinking, yes, yes, you're the one I want, not because you expect them to complete you, not because you want them to fill a void, but because their existence adds color to your world, because their presence feels like a moment you never want to rush, because being around them doesn't demand performance or perfection, it invites honesty, it invites stillness, it invites growth. And when you find someone who inspires you not just to be loved, but to be better, you realize that wanting them is a kind of appreciation for what your life becomes when they're in it. Maybe that's what love really is, not the fireworks, not the constant certainty, not the scripted fairy tale. Maybe it's the gentle truth that flows through your veins when you're with someone who understands the parts of you that were hard to explain. Someone who listens without rushing, who stays without demanding, who gives without keeping score. Someone who doesn't save you but walks beside you while you save yourself. Someone who doesn't just hold your heart but holds space for it. And that space feels like home in a way no building or place ever could. When I think about what it means to want someone deeply and sincerely, I think about how it changes your relationship with the world. Suddenly, small things matter more. The sound of their voice becomes a melody you didn't know you needed. The thought of their safety becomes a quiet prayer you whisper without even realizing it. The idea of their happiness becomes a mission you carry with both tenderness and purpose. Wanting someone is not about possession, it's about presence. You want to be present for them. You want to show up not because they ask you to, but because something in your soul feels drawn toward them like a tide that finally found the right shore. And sometimes, when you look at them, you realize that the world makes a little more sense. Not entirely, not magically, but enough. Enough to remind you that even in all the chaos, there are reasons to stay hopeful, reasons to keep going, reasons to soften the parts of yourself that hardened over the years. They become a reminder that love isn't an escape from life, it's a companion through it. And when you meet someone who feels like that kind of companion, you can't help but feel this quiet conviction inside your chest, this steady heartbeat of recognition, this whisper that rises between your breaths, you're the one I want. But wanting someone also means courage. It means stepping away from the version of yourself who was afraid to be seen. It means lowering the walls you built for protection and trusting that this time, maybe, just maybe, you won't have to regret it. Because wanting is vulnerable. It exposes you. It strips away the coolness, the detachment, the distance you once thought kept you safe. It replaces them with truth, with the desire to be known, with the willingness to open your heart even though the world has taught you to guard it. And perhaps that's why love feels like a risk, because it is. but it's a risk worth taking when the person in front of you feels like a rare alignment of honesty and warmth. When their soul doesn't clash with yours, but hums in harmony. When the way they look at you makes you forget the weight you've been carrying. When their presence reminds you that life should not only be endured, but also shared. Wanting someone is the courage to say, I choose this connection even if it scares me. Because letting yourself love is one of the bravest acts a human heart can commit. And the truth is, you don't say, you're the one I want with certainty about the future. You say it with certainty about the moment. Because love isn't built on promises of forever. It's built on the promise of now, on the promise that you're willing to try, that you're willing to grow, that you're willing to give rather than take, that you're willing to stand beside someone not only in their brilliance but in their storms, that you're willing to learn who they are and who they've been without trying to change them into someone they're not. It's about meeting them with softness even when life feels harsh. It's about being gentle with their insecurities and patient with their healing. Wanting someone isn't just wanting their smile or their charm or the way they make you feel. It's wanting all of them, the light and the shadows, the dreams and the fears, the strength and the fragility. It's choosing to hold their heart with care, knowing it has survived battles you may never fully understand. It's choosing to walk with them, not ahead of them or behind them, but beside them. And maybe that's the most honest expression of love. To look at someone and silently say, I see you, all of you, and I still want you. To want someone in a way that honors their freedom rather than limiting it. To want them in a way that supports their growth rather than stalling it. To want them in a way that adds warmth to their life instead of weight. To want them without needing to own them. When I say you're the one I want, I'm not claiming a destiny or declaring that everything must unfold in a certain way. I'm simply acknowledging a truth within myself, a truth that rises every time I hear your voice or your name or your footsteps in the quiet. A truth that reveals itself in the calm that washes over me when you're near. A truth that tells me you bring out a version of me that feels more human, more present, more alive. Life is unpredictable. People come and go. Circumstances shift like the tides. But when someone touches your heart in a way that feels rare, you feel it. You can't ignore it. You can't talk yourself out of it. You just know. Not in a loud way, not in the way that makes you want to shout it from rooftops, but in a grounded, steady, unmistakable way. In the way that feels like a deep breath after years of holding it in the way that makes you grateful that paths can cross at exactly the right time, even if you didn't see it coming. And so, with all the honesty in my heart, I say it again, you're the one I want, not because I need perfection, not because I expect certainty, but because something about you aligns with something inside me in a way that feels true. And truth is rare. Truth is worth holding on to. Wanting someone with sincerity is one of the greatest gifts we can offer, and one of the greatest gifts we can receive. It means your heart is chosen not out of fear, not out of loneliness, not out of routine, but out of recognition, out of connection, out of love that grows quietly but meaningfully. And maybe that's how love should be, not rushed, not forced, not performed, but discovered, revealed, allowed, like watching a sunrise without trying to control the colors or the timing. You just stand there and let the light appear. You let it unfold in its own rhythm. You let it warm you in its own way. That's what it feels like when I think of you. That's what it feels like when I say, without hesitation and without doubt, that you're the one I want. Every part of my heart understands this. Every part of my soul recognizes it. And every part of my being finds peace in that quiet truth that keeps echoing, keeps returning, keeps choosing you over and over in ways I can't always explain but will always feel. It is the bravery to say, here I am, imperfect, healing, growing, and still willing. Love is not passive, it's a decision, repeated, over and over, to lean into truth instead of retreating into fear. Choosing love with courage means allowing someone to see the cracks in your armor, the scars you carry quietly, the memories you're still trying to reconcile. It means trusting that the person in front of you won't turn away when your voice shakes or when your past feels too heavy. It means giving them the chance to hold you with understanding instead of assuming they'll judge you. And that kind of trust isn't born from comfort. Comfort keeps your walls high. Courage lowers them. Courage lets someone in, even when your fears beg you to shut down. Courage says, I'm scared, but I'm trying. I'm uncertain, but I'm choosing. I'm vulnerable, but I'm here. Because love is not just about being adored on your good days. It's about being understood on your hard ones. It's about being seen when you feel invisible. It's about being valued when you doubt your worth. It's about being chosen even when you're struggling to choose yourself. And letting someone love you that way, letting someone truly into the quiet spaces of your heart, demands a bravery that comfort can never offer. Love asks you to show up honestly, to communicate even when it's uncomfortable, to admit when you're wrong, to listen when it's easier to shut down, to stay present when your instinct is to retreat. That's courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else is more important. And in love, that something else is connection, growth, truth, intimacy, the deep desire to build something real with someone who matters to you. Comfort tells you to avoid the hard conversations. Courage tells you to have them, not with anger, not with blame, but with honesty and heart. Comfort tells you to shut down before you get hurt. Courage tells you to try because connection is worth the risk. Comfort convinces you to keep your distance. Courage invites you to step closer, even slowly, even shakily, even unsure. Comfort protects your heart by locking it away. Courage protects your heart by allowing it to be held. And when you choose love with courage, you begin to understand that vulnerability is not weakness, it's strength. It's the strength to say, I don't have everything figured out, but I want to figure it out together. It's the strength to admit you care deeply, the strength to hope again after disappointment, the strength to trust again after being hurt, the strength to open your heart even when the world has taught you to hide it. Love chosen with courage is softer, deeper, and far more authentic than love lived through comfort. It celebrates your truth instead of covering it. It invites presence instead of avoidance. It builds bridges instead of walls. When you choose love courageously, you create a space where both hearts can breathe, a space where honesty feels safe, a space where healing is possible, a space where connection becomes a journey, not a destination you must reach perfectly. Choosing love with courage means being willing to change, not for someone, but with someone. It means learning their language, their boundaries, their dreams, their fears. It means growing side by side, not molding yourself into something false, not dimming yourself to fit into their world, not forcing them to fit into yours. Courageous love is mutual evolution. It's the willingness to look at your flaws without drowning in them, the willingness to look at theirs without judging them, the willingness to meet in the middle with humility and tenderness. Comfort keeps love shallow. Courage makes love deep. Comfort seeks ease. Courage seeks meaning. Comfort avoids disruption. Courage embraces transformation. Comfort seeks to maintain. Courage seeks to expand. And when you allow your heart to choose with courage, you open yourself to a kind of love that doesn't just touch your life. It reshapes it. It teaches you to see the world with gentler eyes. It inspires you to take emotional risks. It encourages you to break patterns that once kept you small. It reminds you that connection isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. Love chosen with courage doesn't guarantee a flawless path. There will be misunderstandings, moments of fear, moments of doubt, moments where you're tempted to step back because old wounds whisper warnings in your ear. But when you choose love bravely, you learn that those moments aren't signs to run. They're invitations to deepen understanding, to communicate, to listen with your heart instead of your defenses, to stay with presence instead of withdrawing into silence. Courageous love is steady, it's patient, it holds space for emotions instead of judging them. It acknowledges the past without letting it dictate the future. It recognizes that love is not the absence of conflict, but the willingness to work through conflict with respect, tenderness, and honesty. It's the kind of love that says, I'm here not just for the easy moments, but for the real ones. Not just when you're shining, but when you're hurting. Not just when everything feels effortless, but when everything feels heavy. Choosing love with courage means choosing a person in their wholeness, not only the parts that are convenient or charming or immediately lovable, but also the parts that require patience and care. It's choosing to understand their silence, to support their healing, to respect their boundaries, to give them space when needed, to hold them close when they feel lost. It's choosing to show up even when your own fears whisper that vulnerability is dangerous. Courageous love acknowledges fear but moves anyway. It acknowledges uncertainty but still reaches out. It acknowledges risk but recognizes that love itself is worth risking for. Because at the end of the day, the deepest things in life, the things that matter, the things that change us, require bravery. And love, is one of them, perhaps the greatest of them. Comfort is predictable. Courage is transformative. Comfort keeps you safe. Courage keeps you alive. Comfort allows you to drift. Courage allows you to choose. Comfort protects the heart's surface. Courage opens its depths. And in those depths, the real connection happens, the kind of connection that makes you feel seen, the kind that softens the harshness of the world, the kind that makes everyday moments feel extraordinary simply because they are shared with someone who touches your heart in a way you can't explain but always feel. When love chooses with courage, it stops being just a feeling and becomes something more, a commitment to grow, a willingness to try, a promise to stay present, a desire to understand rather than assume. It becomes a journey where both hearts walk forward together, learning, becoming, trusting, healing. And in that journey, there's beauty, there's meaning, there's purpose. Because love that requires courage is